you for joining us today. I have with me here James Ferguson, who is a travel expert, and we're going to be talking a little bit about travel around the world. And we're having this session to honor all of the people in travel around the world. Tourism bureaus, cruise lines, luxury hotels, all of the people have been severely impacted in the past few months. So, James, I know that your own business has really been impacted. You've probably had some clients that are very unhappy, other clients who were hoping this is the year they could do a lot of travel. And here we are, everything is limited. How can you find courage when things around us are so hard for traveling?
Well, hello there, Jim Skiba. Happy to be with you. And in answer to your question, essentially my mantra being crisis equals opportunity, this has become an opportunity for travel advisors like myself to show their real mantle, because without a travel advisor, you're on your own. And we're there to provide them options, alternatives, and to ease their anxiety during this pandemic period.
Thank you. I know I've traveled with you to a few different countries, and we've been in some interesting situations. And I always find that you enjoy the adventure of meeting new people, but you already know a lot of experts in various countries. You seem to bring people together as a team. Have you had certain challenges working with people? Maybe someone promised you something and all of a sudden they ended up delivering less than you were hoping.
Well, in today's high-tech world, where everything is almost instant, they want answers instantly, and patience becomes a virtue with both the client and myself when dealing with suppliers. But by and large, I go to our virtuoso preferred partners who have longstanding track record to provide the right answers in a timely manner. Virtuoso being one of the largest consortiums of which Travel Edge is a member of.
Great. I think part of your team is having other experts. You've mentioned the virtuoso. I believe also you belong to different organizations like ASTA and SCAL. You have different certifications. Can you talk a little bit more about those certifications and different ways that you get in touch and meet with other experts?
Right. Well, CTC, Certified Travel Consultant, you would differentiate between a PA, public accountant, and a CPA. So we've gone the extra mile. And also I've taken out specialist course in promoting my homeland of Scotland, a Scots agent and Brit agent. And my specialty currently is cruising, particularly hit hard with this pandemic. And I've taken out courses with certain cruise lines to specialize in, realizing that one size doesn't fit all. And but the secret is matching the personality of the person with the personality of the ship.
Exactly. Now let's look for a moment. I know you've done a lot of special volunteer work and special projects in various countries. When the huge tsunami happened in the Indian Ocean in 2004, most of us were sitting back and it was very hard to imagine the horror of it. And I know you took action and you got involved to help people. Can you tell us a little about what you were doing?
Yes. Well, our head office was in Bangkok at the time, and still is. And when the tsunami hit there on December 26th, around 8 a.m. our local time, Pacific Coast, kind of thought, gee, this is going to be kind of devastating for tourism. People are not going to want to travel there for quite some time and so forth. And so the most effective way to stimulate travel is to have travel agent, advisors, ambassadors act as emissaries to go to these places that have been hit with devastation. So within a couple of months, we rounded up, we organized some of the local chapters, agents that wanted to go. We had a film crew with us and a member of the media to get the word out. We came back with recommendations and observations, which firsthand experiences is tells you much more than any brochure will.
Thank you. I know that you've spent a lot of time traveling, a lot of time working with all kinds of people. You were in the Navy as a journalist. You've worked with very high-level people. Do you have any interesting people you've met that might be famous? Because it seems like you don't play favorites. You find something interesting in every single person, whether they're rich and famous, or if they're loading luggage, or if they're driving a taxi.
Interesting you mentioned loading luggage, because if that great movie Bohemian Rhapsody, that's how the lead singer there started, loading luggage, unloading luggage at Gatwick Airport, and to become Freddie Mercury. But having said that, I've been privileged to, during the Navy, was involved with the USO show. Bob Hope, in 1969, came on board with Neil Armstrong. And if you'll excuse me 1 minute, I always keep this right here. I was privileged enough. He had just did his walk on the moon, of course, in July there, 1969, and so I got to meet him and got his autograph, and so I always have this here as a little inspiration. And other people, when I was with the newspaper, we got up pretty close to Elvis Presley. Didn't actually have a dialogue with him, but these people are all humans, and just like us, they breathe, they sleep, you know. But one particular engagement was a very wow moment when we were invited backstage by Michael Crawford, the original Phantom of the Opera. He was a client who went to Fiji on a previous trip. And after the show, his person came and got us, and we had a private little session in his dressing room, him still dripping in his bathrobe, and you know, things like that, they stick with you.
That's amazing. I would love to meet Michael Crawford. I actually thought I was a very good first tenor. And of course, I would practice singing some of the same songs from Phantom. But never, even if I could reach the high note, it wasn't the same clarity, the same resonance. So that's an amazing person to be meeting with. Now, I'm wondering, you've spent most of your life in travel, a little bit of time in journalism. If you were going to start all over, imagine for a moment you might be 14 or 15 years old as a child. Do you have any other directions that you might want to go?
Well, at a different time and place, aside from the away from the Vietnam era, I might have found myself marching around Annapolis to become a young officer and a gentleman, and be in the Navy as an officer, ultimately captaining a ship. That's one thing that I have that I might have looked at doing, but when I'm ready to hang up the shingle on selling travel, I might write some books about this. But I want to become the oldest living travel advisor and just keep doing it till I can no more read the print.
Well, I know you've been to many different countries. I don't know if you have an idea how many, but I'm interested in knowing, are there some other places you might still want to go if you had the time and the right season? And, what would be a couple of those possible trips?
Yes, well, I have been to about 87, give or take, countries, and of which, by the way, there's like, interesting enough, listed about 323, all these little islands and so forth. Then there's a club out there called the Traveler Century Club, where you have to have been to a minimum 100 countries, and the most have been to, some of them have been to 200 and even some 300. But for myself, right in our own backyard, sometimes we overlook Alaska. America's last frontier comes to mind. A combination of nature, scenery, and of course on the water on a cruise ship. In fact, I was supposed to be on it August 11th here on Cunard's Queen Elizabeth, but that got canceled sadly. But Alaska has been around a while, and so we'll look forward to that next year. Also, I like luxury train travel, having been on the Royal Scotsman and the Grand Hibernian. Next up would be the Venice Simplon Orient Express, and before while I'm still able to, an around the world voyage would be something to look at, maybe even as a dancing ambassador on the ship, which some of the cruise lines have.
That sounds great. How long is the trip on Orient Express from London to Istanbul? Do they still do that route?
They do indeed. In fact, they have extended the route into Budapest and up into parts of Czech Republic now. But that particular journey is the iconic one. London via Paris to Venice. It takes about a day and a half, where you're wined and dined and turn back the hands of time, and everybody dresses up and has a lookout over their shoulder for the murderer, in case there's a murder.
Great. Go ahead.
Oh, well, on the Orient Express.
I have always thought it would be interesting to travel on some of the other overnight trains. I did go on the short one from Singapore to Bangkok when they had that for overnight.
Yeah.
What is different with the flavor? I think the trains will bring in a lot of the local culture for the countries they're going through.
Well, if you're traveling on the local train, meaning the regular transit one, yes, it certainly can. I have a memory of a local train I took from Shanghai to Beijing, and it was an overnight thing. And there was three of us, and we came into this compartment, and there was one Chinese person, and sadly he left when he saw us come in. But it was, you saw as the train went north up to Beijing, you traveled and you saw the backyards of China, so to speak. And then, interesting enough, off the train, we got in a rickshaw and went down the main boulevard to a 5-star hotel. So,
It's
the romance of travel.
It's the combination of something simple and then the luxury. I think when I've traveled with you, that's the charm, that you can
Indeed.
go from one to the other.
Yeah, and that's what clients are seeking more, the seasoned traveler. They're looking for more of a cultural experience where, in fact, they can also maybe do some volunteer work. If people go on African safaris or down to South America, they want to give back. They've done the Tuesday, it must be Belgium, Europe business in their youth. And so now they want more enriching experiences.
Well, we're going to be closing in a moment. Is there someone in the travel industry that you would like to say a special thank you? one or two people, one or two companies?
Well, Samuel Kennard, the founder of Kennard Line, 1840, and albeit he was born in Halifax in Canada, he launched Kennard Line, and it became the first transatlantic service. And my father wound up being a ship fitter in Glasgow, Scotland, helping build the original Queen Mary. And then after that, he built me, and together with Mother, we emigrated on the Queen Mary, winding up in Toronto. So travel is sort of in the genes, and once it's in your system, it's hard to get it out. If you have the passion for it, it sticks with you. We don't become billionaires or high-tech gurus, but we have life-enriching experiences and go to places we didn't even think existed. Like, have you heard of Vanuatu?
I've heard of it, yes.
You've heard of it. What was it used to be called?
I don't know.
The New Hebrides, not to be confused with the Old Hebrides of Scotland. It was a condominium government of British and French, and called the New Hebrides before they got their independence and became Vanuatu. Okay, there you go.
Well, thank you so much, James, for being with me here today. I just want to honor you, all of the travel professionals in the United States, travel professionals around the world, the hotels, the simple ones, the luxury ones, the cruise lines, the train connections, all of those different people that work together as a team. And I'm hoping myself that I can get up to 80 or even 100 countries myself in the next few years.
Well, there you go. Thank you for this privilege. And to quote my Queen Elizabeth II in her TV address recently to her subjects, we will meet again, and we will travel again. So keep the faith, and until then, remain safe.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you to everyone who's joining us today.